Well, hello everybody. This is Murray back with you for this January 25th and 26th edition of the Lavaca County News Reviews. And I'm mighty glad to be here with you. Don't have a guest this time, and we want to thank Michelle Price for being with us last week, and she did a great job just like she did in the first one. And we will be having her back, there's no doubt about that. But I am running solo, and so I'm going to run through this pretty quick. I guess the first thing I should say is this is going to be in all our papers, going to be very common. It's 2 words, stock show, in all our towns. And our company owns Hallettsville, Yoakum, Shiner, Moulton, and Hallettsville's being the headquarters. And so all of the papers are going to have something about stock shows. So you're going to have to go to LavacaCountyToday.com and read up on it, or wait for your local newspaper if you hadn't received it already. There's a lot of good stuff in there, a lot of neat articles. We're going to start off with the Hallettsville Tribune-Herald, and like I said before, it's all about stock shows. On the front page, we have the Grand Champion steer, and it was shown by Kyle Siflik. And if I'm mispronouncing your name, Kyle, I'm very sorry, but congratulations to you, son. Also, another thing that's pretty interesting, too, is that Jimmy Apple, our senior writer, has got a story about the court meetings moving to live YouTube for their meetings. That sounds like that'll be mighty interesting, so you need to check that out when you get your paper, or like I said, go to the website. And our managing editor, Bobby Hariska, has got a follow-up on that plane crash in Yoakum, and his headline says that investigators say that the cause determination on the plane crash might take months. And then we have a story about the city council and some decisions that they made regarding the library at their last meeting. So I'll leave it at that. I'll just tell you that there were quite a few folks that disagreed with some of the things in concern to the library, and I'm not going to elaborate on that, but I'm sure you've seen enough on social media, probably pretty well know all about it. So that was written by Chuck Groff, who was covering that meeting. And we got Henry Joe Yashik's Town Chatter, can't forget that. And scrolling on down, we got the Texas Domino Hall of Fame, naming their 4 inductees, and there's a picture, so you can check that out. So there was a burglary at the Brahma Stadium on an automobile, so be sure and keep your vehicles locked, folks, because there's more and more and more of this stuff going on. And we have a write-up by Jimmy Apple about the stock show. The show set a new all-time auction sales record with an estimated $418,325. So that's awesome. We're real happy about that. And there are pictures on that same page, more pictures of the grand champions between Bobby and Jimmy Apple and Bobby Hariska. Livestock show's got some really good coverage. I want you to check this out. Like I said before, I'm going to go through these pretty rapidly because there's a lot of news, and I can't sit here and talk about all of them. So I would suggest that you do look for it in your newspaper or at LavacaCountyToday.com. So I'm on down to the sports page by our senior sports editor, Chuck Groff. And Chuck Groff is discussing the Cowboys' loss. And I won't go into that, but check it out. He's like a lot of these Cowboy fans. I don't think he was very happy with the outcome. You'll have to go to the B section of the Hallettsville Tribune-Herald. He's got more pictures and stories concerning our local basketball teams, so check them out. He's also got some pictures of the girls playing soccer, pretty much everything. I'm going to go on now and scroll on down January 29th to February 3rd is proclaimed Catholic Schools Week, so we've got that covered. And, of course, your classifieds. You want to check out your classifieds in all the papers. And then we've got on the back page of B section a story about the Houston Livestock Show and the Rodeo Schools art program, and got color pictures of the students on that page. So that's going to wrap up the Hallettsville Tribune. Going to move on over now to the Shiner Gazette, coming out of Shiner, Texas, Michelle Price's hometown. And they have the same stories pretty much about the court meetings going to live YouTube, a story about the new Norma's House location opening here in Hallettsville. That's all on the front page of the Shiner Gazette. And then inside we have pictures of kids at the bank, touring the bank, honor roll, and a rally for life that is set this Saturday for Hallettsville. And that's in Shiner and the Hallettsville paper, so go there to get your details. And, of course, we've got our classified ads. We'll always mention them. And then we want to mention Mark Luby's Shiner Sports. And he's got a story here about the Cardinals being defeated. And then he's got another story of the Lady Comanches winning and the Shiner Comanche boys winning. And the Lady Cardinals won. There you go. And that's all on Mark Luby's sports page. He's got 2 pages, so you need to check that out. And we've got the color picture of the Shiner High School band. The band students placed well in area competition. And like I might have said, it's got color pictures. We want to thank Patek's Grocery, one of our great advertisers, with their ad that they run every week. And more pictures about the Spetzel Brewery chili cook-off winners. Got pictures there. The Shiner Gazette has probably got everything pretty well covered for folks in Shiner and around the area. Give it a look. Go check it out. I know that you'll be happy with all these papers. They look good this week. Of course, they look good every week, but they look really good this week. And all that stock show coverage and everything. So we're going to leave Shiner there, and we're going to move on over now. The Yoakum Herald-Times. And again, we have the story about the determination on a plane crash and how long it can take. And we've got pictures of weather-damaged property in that area. Classifieds. Always wanted to check them out, no matter what town you're in, because you can find people that you can hire. You can find people to work on your home. It's just neat all the way around. So I know a lot of people don't read the classifieds, but I like to read over them every week and just see if maybe there's something in there I can't live without, if you know what I mean. And our ex-podcast buddy, Hans Lammerman, has his Yesteryear in Yoakum column, and he's talking about a Yoakum landmark, and he's talking about Nutria near Sweet Home and how they are affecting that pond. Let's see what year this was, 1968. And I've had personal experience with Nutrias. I don't know if the rest of you have, but they look like a great big rat, and they will come after you if you tee them off. And that's another story. And he's got Mark Luby, and has got a story on the sports page about Yoakum beating Rice in industrial and district games last week. And he's got very comprehensive stories about those games, and you need to check that out. And then on page 5, Yoakum FFA 4-H stock show. More color pictures of the kids and a stock show in Yoakum. So check that out. It'll be worth the look to you, especially to you folks in Yoakum. And basically, I think everything else is pretty much local news and pretty much everything. You know, they got it covered from head to toe, and they do a good job. I want to thank Nadine Rex from the Yoakum office for her picture of the plane crash. She did a good job with that, which of course was a sad event, and our condolences go out to the family and friends of those gentlemen that lost their lives in that crash. But anyway, we're going to move on over now. I think that we pretty well covered Yoakum, and like I said, this is just touching on it. All you got to do is wait for your newspaper if you hadn't already got it, And I'm going to move on over now to our follow-up batter, as Hans calls them. This is a Molten Eagle. Molten Eagle's got the winners of the stock show. Your Molten Showmanship winners for 2023. 3-color pictures. This story is from Bobby Hariska. Bobby's got another story about Molten getting another police chief. Once more again is the way Bobby's got the headline. So this gentleman has been the chief before. And let's see, they mentioned Jimmy Apple also writes for our other papers in Moulton and Hallettsville. And Jimmy's got a story about the wild game suppers taking place January 28th in Hallettsville. What is that, Saturday or Sunday? That's coming up. I have a column in here on my Lone Star Diary column. It's called Remembering Adina de Zavala, Angel of the Alamo. If you're interested in Texas history, you might enjoy reading that. I've already got it up on the LaVacaCountyToday.com website. And then inside we have Lavaca County 4-H'ers placing in Fort Worth. We have a picture of them. We also have a picture of the Norma's house opening in Hallettsville. Got a story from the Czech Heritage Society. We have a column from Natalie Konezik, and she's talking about cauliflower. She says, is cauliflower a staple in your diet? If not, maybe you ought to make it one. And her column is in most all the papers. And on page 4 and 5 of the Molten Eagle, we have big stories of the buyers. In fact, it took up 2 pages of covering the buyers that were at the stock show and backing these kids. We also have on page 5, continues all with the buyers and also has some pictures of the buyers. Check that out. Maybe you'll see somebody you know. And if you were at that stock show, I'm sure you will. Then we have a story about the Texas Blacksmith Conference. Texas Antique Gas Engine Reunion is planned for this weekend. So you need to check that out. We have that article in several of our papers, I know for sure. Then we have a little sports story about the Kittens outscoring Pettis. And it's a small story, but you sports hounds will love it. Also, we have the Moulton ISD Honor Roll, honorable mention, high school and elementary school, perfect attendance. So check it out. I'm sure some of your kiddos are on there. Lots of news in all our papers. I want to thank, I thanked Nadine for her picture over in Yoakum Herald. And I want to thank Allison for the great job she does on laying out the pages. And I know it's a workload because I do it myself. Congratulations to them, and thanks again to Michelle Price for being a guest, and we will be having Michelle back. And thanks to Ani Zach, our office manager in Hallettsville. She keeps the rest of us old men in line. Needless to say, she has her hands full, but she does a good job of keeping us straight. So thanks a lot, Ani. Appreciate it. Well, anyway, that's all for this version or edition of the Lavaca County News Review. Hopefully next week we'll have a surprise guest. I'm still working on that one. But in the meantime, I want to thank you all for listening, and I hope that you'll share this podcast with your friends, neighbors, family. We need all the coverage we can get. That's all for now, friends, and thanks a lot. Goodbye.